It's Locked On NBA Game Night. I'm Wes Goldberg here with Tony East. The Milwaukee Bucks are the NBA Cup champs, but are they a threat to win the Larry O'Brien Trophy at the end of the season? Let's jump in.
When that final buzzer rings, you know it's time for Locked On NBA Game Night. All the post-game reactions to every game across the league, every single night, with insights only the hosts at Locked On can provide. It's the true NBA fans' one stop for all the action. Every game, every night. It's Locked On NBA Game Night. Tipping off now.
Welcome to Locked On NBA Game Night. Every game, every night in 30 minutes. Wes Goldberg here with Tony East. However, you might be tuning in on YouTube or your favorite podcast app. Thanks for making Locked On NBA your first listen every day. Today's episode is sponsored by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Got a great show for you today. The Thunder went cold in Las Vegas. The Nuggets have zeroed in on a trade target potentially. But we're going to start with the Milwaukee Bucks, who blew out the Thunder in the NBA Cup championship game. This was a moment for Giannis and the Bucks, Tony. At least it felt that way for me. There was a bunch of interviews kind of coming out before the game about how Giannis and Damian Lillard also were kind of leading this team by example, how they really put a lot of importance on winning the NBA Cup and in the in-season tournament and all that stuff. And they go undefeated throughout the whole thing. Giannis was locked in this game. We can kind of get into the ins and outs. Milwaukee won, maybe why OKC lost this game. But this to me feels like it could be a turning point for the Bucks, because this is something that they've truly wanted. They've been really good basically for the last month of the season. They're 8th in net rating over these last 15 games. And if this is a jumping off point for the rest of their season, it really feels like that for me. What do you think?
They've had a few what I would call like small turning points this year to go from where they started, which was awful, to like, oh, look, they're good again. But I think the major one they discussed on the broadcast, and what I'll walk away from this game mostly remembering, is, we heard about Dame and Giannis talking amongst themselves about if the Bucks are going to turn around their start, like it's on them, like as the stars, to actually make that happen. And they've both been exceptional recently. And so to point at Giannis specifically, like this felt like MVP Giannis to me, right, in this game. And, obviously Jokic is having an incredible season and Luka's having an incredible season. And Giannis just went 10 for 19 and sucked at the free throw line, and that held him back from having 30. If he got to 30, he would have had 30, 19, and 10 for a triple-double. Absurd rebounding game, absurd assist game, and it had 3 blocks, all of which were like how the heck did Giannis get that block kind of blocks, right? Stuff that like only literally he can do in the NBA. And so his defense is just unbelievable. When he pairs it with that kind of offense, he just looks amazing, right? And so if he keeps playing at a near MVP level, then the Bucks can keep doing this, right? And they've won 8 of their last 10 before this, and now just beat a really good team on a neutral site. Like, they're playing very well. And again, we can talk about all the little things. They had a lot of good player performances in this game, but Giannis and Dame being awesome again has really helped them right the ship. And I agree, turn them into something. And this night where Giannis does it on a bigger stage certainly matters on that front.
Yeah, him and Giannis and Damian Lillard have been the best duo in the NBA this season. I don't think it's close. They're averaging more than 58 points per game going into this game. They carry this team. I mean, when you think about the guys that are up there, it's like Tatum and Jaylen Brown. Well, it feels like the Milwaukee Bucks are the Boston Celtics are more of an ensemble. Like Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland have been great, but their numbers aren't with Giannis and Damian Lillard. Like even LeBron and AD, with all the struggles that LeBron has had lately, it's got to be Giannis and Dame, and I don't know how
Luka
far.
Kyrie strikes me as the only group that would give you an argument.
Right, and then what Giannis could do defensively, it feels like maybe that sets this one over the top. But look, I love seeing Giannis this locked in, and I said something earlier in the year, maybe to you, where I thought that at the beginning of the season, I wasn't feeling Giannis. Like I thought the numbers were still good, but he wasn't playing with that same like oomph, that same like Giannis takeover-edness that we had seen from him so much of his career. Well, that is gone. Like that guy he walks into every game thinking he's the best player on the court, and oftentimes being the best player on the court. And in this game, he certainly played like it. And I don't know, at the risk of stretching the metaphor too far here, but like it reminded me like the way that Giannis and Dame were talking about just like some of those old generals who would like lead their troops into war. And it's like they're putting everything at risk with the way that they're talking in the media, the way that they're saying it's on us. It's like, hey, look, we know that we're going to win based on us, but if we lose, it's also on us too. And them going out there and playing the way that they've played, talking about how they wanted to win that money for their teammates and kind of putting themselves on the line for it. I just thought it was really cool. And again, like you're seeing this team rally around them in a very major way.
Yeah, no one realizes Giannis is leading the NBA in scoring for some reason. Like that's just not a thing people say when they talk about Giannis, which is kind of funky to me. And certainly picked it up from his first 14. He's upped his scoring since then. And I think he had 41 against the Bulls, like right before Thanksgiving. And since then, he's only had one game under 30. Like he's been on a tear, right? And that's kind of coincided with the Bucks' ascent, not completely. So yeah, there's something to that and to his own whatever motivations. Maybe it's his brother being the NBA's greatest cheerleader. I loved watching Thanasis this whole game go crazy during it. But Dame too, like when the Pacers played the Bucks this year, I only mentioned the Pacers because I cover them. You know, I remember thinking before the game and like telling people like, man, Dame just hasn't quite had the same, like what you just said, kind of oomph this year, even though his stats look fine. Like when I was asking people who cover the Bucks, why hasn't he been as good? They're like, what are you talking about? His numbers look great. And since that game or since around that time, he too has kind of turned some sort of corner and looked really good, right? In the 10 games or the 9 games since that exact stretch I'm talking about, he's averaging 27 and 7 and making 44% of his threes. Like those two guys have just been awesome. And it seemed like they had no chance of being this level of team or playing this well on the stage early in the season, but they look great tonight. And their defense was the thing, but their stars were the story.
Let's hear more from Locked On Bucks host Camille Davis on Giannis's MVP status.
Milwaukee Bucks are your 2024 NBA Cup champions after a 97-81 victory over the Thunder. This was an impressive win for a Milwaukee Bucks team that has won 12 of their last 15 regular season games coming into NBA Cup play here. But, you know, people have been saying they haven't been beating good competition. So coming into this environment, which is playoff light, one could say, against a really good Thunder team, number one in the West, best defense, to come out and exert your will in that way was super impressive, especially given the fact that the Bucks were without Chris Middleton, who was a little bit of a later scratch given a non-COVID illness. And for this Bucks team, they also got to put Giannis on display on the national scene for everyone to see. The MVP level play that he has been at this season, offensively and defensively. A really good win for the Bucks. Giannis did his thing. Dame showed up in big moments as well. The defense that the Bucks had on Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and J-Dub was fantastic throughout the game. Just a good win overall for the Milwaukee Bucks.
So I was asked, I do that ESPN straw poll thing with the MVP race, and we had to kind of submit our stuff over these last couple of days. I had a really hard time deciding between Jokic and Giannis for number one on my fake ballot here. I don't know that this game would have changed that, but it certainly kind of like underscored the difficulty of my decision. I was like, man, to me, it's 1A and 1B between those guys right now.
I would have Jokic number one. Like I think something very
that's what I ended up with. But yeah,
something I think is very interesting about the Bucks is that this is very much a data does not match what you're watching thing. Like Giannis plays so well, and they look insanely good when he's on the floor. And their net rating with him on the floor is like plus 1.5. Like it's not that awesome, right? And their net rating with him off is minus 0.23. That's not that bad. Like,
but that's for the season?
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's really bizarre. Clean the Glass, I think, has it as plus 1.2 or something. I use PPP stats, but like they have it. It's really strange. Some of it's that they play well with Dame on and him off, but just it feels like he's been so good. And the numbers are like, yeah, he helps them. They're just finding ways, and credit to the whole team again, which they had tonight with their defense. But I mean, yeah, I think he'd be my number two right now. I don't have a reason to cut Luka out of that top two, though. It's hard. They're all awesome for different reasons. And I think a lot of Mavs fans would say a lot of the reasons Luka didn't win last year, he's doing this year, and now he's not winning. So yeah. It's just a goofy, tough race. But yeah, Giannis, a big national TV game like this will really help his case.
Giannis is a +5 in the last 10 games. So it's trending in the right direction for him. SGA is obviously part of this conversation too. Yep. We could throw Jason Tatum in there, Donovan Mitchell, like a bunch of different guys there. But to me, I think it's between, like you said, he's leading the league in scoring. His true shooting percentage is insane. He's not even shooting 3-pointers this year. It's been a wild season for him, and now the success, at least team wide, is starting to come along here with this NBA Cup win. But one of the Thunder's flaws were exposed in this game, I thought, and I do think it's something that they might need to address. We'll talk about more of that here on Locked On NBA. Today's episode of Locked On NBA Game Night is brought to you by Game Time. Game Time is focused on togetherness this holiday season. That means when you bring people together at live events, the experience is that much better, and it's a perfect gift. Game Time is a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets for live events even easier. Game Time Picks filters out all the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. Game Time is the place to get tickets for your events this holiday season. By using the all-in pricing feature, you see the total upfront with no surprise fees at checkout. And with seat views, you get a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you buy. With their lowest price guarantee, if you find a cheaper ticket, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. And with Game Time ticket coverage, your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem the code LOCKEDON, LOCKEDON, for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It's game time. Today's episode is also brought to you by Rocket Money. Did Rocket Money help you find any subscriptions you forgot about or that you're paying for twice? That definitely happened to me. I had a few subscriptions that I didn't even realize I was still paying for. And Rocket Money made it so easy to track them all down. It's like having a personal assistant for your finances. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings. It brings everything together in one place, whether it's subscriptions, your spending habits, or even the goals that you want to hit this year. Rocket Money has over 5 million users and has saved a total of $500 million in canceled subscriptions, saving members up to $740 a year when using all of the app's premium features. For me, one of the best features is the subscription tracker. I've used it to cancel services I wasn't even using anymore. I've already saved a ton. Plus, with their goals feature, I've been able to automatically set aside money for my future. No more stressing about budgeting every month. They take care of it. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions and reach your financial goals faster with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/lockedon today. That's rocketmoney.com/lockedon. rocketmoney.com/lockedon. Thanks for tuning in to Locked On NBA Game Night. Every game, every night. The best way to support the show is to subscribe on YouTube and on your favorite podcast app. Let's get to the Thunder side of this. Here's Ryan Stiles from Locked On Thunder with more.
The Oklahoma City Thunder fall to the Milwaukee Bucks in the NBA Cup Championship. The Thunder could not hit water out of a boat tonight from three. It did not loosen up the Milwaukee defense, so they were able to pack the paint and make life extremely hard on SGA and J-Dub as well with their physical defense. And on the other end, for as good as the Thunder are defensively, and they still played well tonight, they do not have a game plan for Giannis, but nobody really does. The Bucks showed how they can still be a force, and we'll see if the Thunder can learn from this experience moving forward.
Tony, what did you think about the, before we get to the three-point shooting part of this, what did you think about OKC's defensive game plan against Giannis?
Yeah, he is right that nobody really can slow Giannis. I think the best teams just show him so many bodies and try to force, like Giannis always says this. I don't know if I think he's right, but he's talking about himself. So who am I to say he's wrong? He always says he's a pass first guy. And so when you throw a lot of bodies at him, like he wants to look for his teammates, and like maybe tonight with Dame playing pretty well and other good shooting nets from other Bucks starters, that might not have worked, but you have to, one, have a dude with size on him, like probably Hartenstein, and then just put two other guys close by and pray you can recover to shooters. And sometimes that has worked against the Bucks. The right teams have packed the paint in ways that have slowed them down, but it's really tough. I mean, there's a reason he's leading the league in scoring. Ryland's right. You can't easily do that. But what the Bucks did was a little, not passive necessarily. I mean, they forced a lot of turnovers. It's not like the Bucks were like on fire or anything, but it was a little too easy for Giannis specifically. And I think that made it so easy for the Bucks to just like climb out of any slow stretches.
Yeah, they started with Jalen Williams on him. They tried Alex Caruso on him. And when I say on it, like one-on-one, and they're so small. And they like the Caruso thing was a little too Mark Dagnall Galaxy brain for me. It's like, yeah, lower center of gravity. Maybe you can kind of knock the ball away. And Giannis is like, no, I'm just going to score right over him. And that's exactly what happened a bunch of times. They did try to build that wall, you know, that we've seen teams do against Giannis. But like, it was less of a wall and more of like a speed bump that Giannis could just step over because it was so small.
That's why Hardenstein has to be on him to me for it to work, right? Or else he just, okay, I'll just go this way and shoot or whatever.
It would have been interesting to see if they would have experimented with somebody else on Brook Lopez maybe in some of those minutes. But to me, I know that Milwaukee was out without Chris Middleton. The Thunder were missing a more important piece without Chet Holmgren in this one. Like, I'm really curious to see like what this game would have looked like with Chet, because I bet OKC would come out with Hartenstein and Chet in the starting lineup, and now you've got like a real 7-footer that you can at least put in front of Giannis. And that to me was the part that was missing. Even if you still started maybe with Jalen Williams on him, but had Chet as like a weak side guy or whatever, but like it just felt like they were missing a body match for Giannis.
You and I have talked about the attrition point for the Thunder at center like a lot. I think we happen to have the nights for our game night where Chet got hurt and Hartenstein came back and all this stuff. And like, we're like, what are they going to do at the 5? Like, they can't do anything. And they didn't have Kenny Hustle for a lot of the season. And tonight specifically, I think they're 8-1 or 9-1 when Hartenstein plays and 8-1 when Chet plays. Like, Kenny Hustle's great, but he's small. Like, that's his flaw. Yeah. So it's hard to do the cross matching with him in there too. And he didn't overcome it with offensive stuff in this game. So this matchup specifically really exposed why I've had that conversation so much. Yes, the Thunder have been and can be great in their current reality in the front court, but it's hard. It requires a lot to go your way. And when Giannis is great and Brook Lopez can make threes or just put you under the rim, you can't really put smalls on him as easily. So this game specifically kind of exposed the weakness they've had there.
And Giannis did a good job of doing like his Jokic impression where like as soon as the Thunder would send that double or even triple team, he was like, okay, cool, open guy over here. Boom. They did a good job of pressuring the paint and all that kind of stuff. But the other big part of this game was that the Thunder shot 5 of 32, 15.6% from.
Was there a draft in there?
In this game, I'm sorry?
Was there a draft in there? My God, that was awful.
It's crazy. I don't know. They couldn't hit a shot. But look, I mean, this has also sort of been a concern for them all year. They're 19th in the league in three-point shooting percentage after being first in the league last year. I thought like last year it was too much. I didn't think they were the best three-point shooting team in the NBA by percentage. In the playoffs, you saw that kind of come down a little bit, and now that's sort of been the case for this regular season. You've had bad seasons from Cason Wallace, from Alex Caruso shooting-wise. Not everybody has been as hot as they were last year. I don't know. I think this is an issue for them. And it's not this. I don't think they're going to shoot 15% every game, but I think this is a real issue for them when you're looking at some of the competition in the West. And it feels like if they're going to make a move before the deadline, they've got to find maybe a real knockdown three-point shooter, because I don't know that they have bad three-point shooters in their lineup necessarily, like especially after trading Giddey, but they don't have like three-point shooters who you're really scared of either.
That's what I was going to say. Even they have a lot of guys who like on paper shoot well. Dort's a fine shooter. J-Dub's a fine shooter. SGA makes his threes sometimes. These are good players. Their bench guys are all solid. You know, the Thunder are probably like, yeah, we're comfortable with any of these guys shooting. Mm-hmm. But if you're a defense, you're like, okay, sure. You know, it's like, right. That's not the end of the world. The only guy you're like truly afraid of is Isaiah Joe. And I thought it was smart of them to start him in this game pretty much for that exact reason, right? Try to spread out the Bucks defensively, force them to play on a wider floor and transition where they sucked. Like early in this game, I was like, oh, the Thunder are going to run away with this. The Bucks have already messed up a bunch in transition on defense. Isaiah Joe went 1 for 6 from deep, right? Dame made as many threes as the whole Thunder team. And that's just, you just lose when that happens. So yeah, among them, like they kind of feel like they need a second creator and a shooter, like in one player. I don't know if that's just like available ever. That's a really good player, basically, that I've just described. But
how many first-round picks would it take Miami to get rid of Tyler Hero?
That's a great fit, though. Like that kind of thing is exactly what they need. And I believe in Mark Daigneault more than most coaches to be like, yeah, I can hide this guy on defense, no problem, right? Mm-hmm. So that is kind of the archetype of player that they need, is someone on not an awful contract who can do Tyler Hero stuff. Yes, that's a great. You pulled that one up quick. It's almost like you covered that guy. So, but you see all these things exposed, not only when they're not making them is it trouble, like Ryland said. Right. They don't have other creators besides Shea. So when the paint's packed, it's really tough for them to get good shots. And Hartenstein wasn't hitting the floater as much. It was a slog for them. It was really rough.
You know what I was thinking of for them? Norm Powell also.
Another good one. The problem, maybe Hero would get traded, but all the players who are good and do this stuff just like aren't available because they're good and can do this stuff.
What do the Clippers really think about themselves? Like if you said, here's 2 first-round picks for Norm Powell, would they not have to do that? Feels like they would have to do something. Like if they're a good first-round pick. I don't know.
I don't want to trade with OKC if I'm any other team in the league. I just don't want to. It sounds scary.
It sounds scary. Well, speaking of trades, the Denver Nuggets are targeting a scorer before the deadline. I think one of the reported names is a surprisingly good fit. We'll tell you who it is after this on Locked On NBA Game Night. Today's episode of Locked On NBA Game Night is brought to you by FanDuel. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. I also am seeing Giannis's MVP odds increasing a little bit right now. Might be time to sprinkle something on that. All you got to do is just visit FanDuel.com. Join FanDuel.com today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Today's episode is also brought to you by Built. Built Rewards. If you're a renter, listen up. This is a total game changer. Thanks to Built, you can now earn points on rent payments just like you do with groceries or travel. Paying rent now comes with a serious perks, and it's completely free to join. Earn valuable Built points on your rent and everyday spending at no extra cost. Redeem points for flights, hotel stays, and even future rent payments. With over 500 airlines and 700,000 hotels in their program, the possibilities are endless. Access unique experiences that are exclusive to Built members. I love using points for travel. Built makes it easy to turn those my rent into rewards. If you're already paying rent, why not make this work for you? So start earning points on your rent if you're already paying by going to joinbuilt.com/lockedonnba. That's joinbuilt.com/lockedonnba. Make sure you use our link so they know we sent you. Don't wait. Start earning rewards today with Built. Thanks again for making Locked On NBA Game Night your first listen every day. It's every game, every night. Subscribe on YouTube and on your favorite podcast app. 3 storylines to get to here. The first one, the Denver Nuggets are strongly considering trading for Zach LaVine, according to a report by The Athletic that published in the first quarter of this game. Great timing, Tony East, by them. Zach LaVine? Denver? The only package would be Michael Porter Jr. and Zeke Naji for LaVine. I don't know. I kind of like it. What about you?
Yeah, they are uniquely a good fit for LaVine because they need that exactly. I mean, maybe like Dario Saric is in this trade instead of Zeke Naji or something, but they have a very unique situation the Nuggets do where they, one, really need someone like Zach LaVine, especially with Murray outside of his last game where he was awesome in the clutch against the Kings, not being as good this year. And 2, they have the right contracts to make it okay for them to take on a different bad deal. Not that Michael Porter is badly overpaid, but he is probably not a max player making the max. So if you swap out that deal for LaVine, do you feel okay about it? It'd be hard to figure out what assets go to which team in that deal, but I do think they make sense as a LaVine team and are uniquely positioned to be a group that would be yeah, we're comfortable with this, being the outcome of a trade, even contractually. I like that fit.
Yeah, I don't even know if draft picks would have to, if you're Denver, you're saying, hey, here's $10 million in savings a year. And then if you're the Nuggets, you're okay, Zach LaVine, we need a little bit more on-ball creation. We need, Michael Porter Jr. is an awesome three-point shooter. Zach LaVine's an awesomer three-point shooter at a higher volume.
They're both good, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's you're just increasing the volume there. I don't know, it's a little bit of a dramatic move, but I do think just in a vacuum, Zach LaVine's a better basketball player than Michael Porter Jr., and so maybe that's just it. It's hey, look, the talent around us in the West and in the East, if you look at the Boston Celtics, everybody, the talent level is just getting higher with these contending teams. We just kind of have to up our talent level overall. So we'll see what happens. Within that same Athletic story, they mentioned a few other kind of players that are not just LaVine was the biggest name, but they're looking at other guys who are just sort of offensive juice kind of guys. Well, I don't know, which is kind of interesting. I don't look at Denver and think, yeah, they need more offense, but I guess it makes sense if you're thinking that Jamal Murray hasn't been quite the same, and they're this reliant on Nikola Jokic scoring as much as he's had to. So I don't know. I guess I get it. Let's go to the next story. League officially announced changes to the AllStar game. 4 teams, 3 of them made up of 8 All-Stars, the 4th made up of the winning team from the Rising Stars Challenge for some reason. There's going to be a 2-game semifinal round followed by a final where the first team to 40 points wins. I've got so many questions and concerns about this. I think this is awful. My main question is, who gets the bye week? Like, who's the lucky pickup team that gets to take on the Rising Stars? Like, what's going on with that?
The best part of this will be Kenny, Shaq, and Chuck picking the teams. That will be very funny. After that, I don't care. I'm out. I don't like. This is stupid. How is this going to make them care more? This would make me care less as a player. This feels more gimmicky than what they were doing before.
Kevin Durant hates it. He's like, this is the dumbest thing. He's like, just go back to East and West. And I guess the NBA would counter and say, well, when we were doing that, you didn't care about it then either. And so, look, this is really gimmicky. It's also, but I'm okay with gimmicks. This is the worst version of the gimmick.
Yeah. Ugh.
This sucks. Like, why not
Unless
just do 4
Stars
teams
win.
of 6? What's going on?
Maybe the Rising Stars will play well, and it'll really motivate them to not lose to a bunch of young guys in front of a big audience. Because
I want so badly for the Rising Stars to win this.
it would
be the biggest FU by the All-Stars to the league. Like Kevin Durant should be in that locker room saying, "Hey guys, what if we just lose to the Rising Stars? We'll never have to do this again because it'll be such."
Yeah, the fans voted to see us play. Let's lose to the guys who are anointed. I saw 2 tweets with a similar theme today. I know I'm not just talking about tweets on the show, but it actually got me thinking about what would make All-Star matter. One was a joke that was like, they should make All-Star game the very first event of All-Star weekend, and the winning team gets to leave that city and do whatever they want, and the losers have to stay. And the other one was like, the winning team, great. The losing team, all those players cannot be named All-Stars the next year. And the theme of these things that I thought were interesting ideas, although the NBA would never do them, is instead of saying, let's change the format or make it so like the winning team feels something for winning, what about a punishment for losing? I actually think that might resonate with players more because I thought those were interesting takes.
Stick instead of carrot. I like it. I like it. Next storyline here. ESPN's Tim Bontemps reported that the league is making or considering at least some changes to the NBA Cup. A couple of them include playing the semifinals and finals or just the semifinals rather, at home arenas.
Yeah.
The final game would still be played in Las Vegas. Another one, pushing the tournament deeper into the season. Not really sure why, but whatever. And then part of it would be also expanding the group stage from 4 games to 8 games. And the point around that is to increase the chances of the better teams advancing. He even had some anonymous executive say, well, if you had 8 games in the group stage, the Boston Celtics would definitely be in it. Tony, what do you think about any of these changes?
Yeah, I don't like pushing it back in the calendar.
I don't get that.
It's actually really natural to me that it's like start of season, NBA Cup, okay, trade season for a bit, okay, All-Star, okay, home stretch, okay, playoffs. Like that seems very natural to me, even though it doesn't really hit the casual fan that way. Maybe a little bit more toward Christmas, but I think this is fine. Timing-wise. The other 2 I really like. I mean, you watch the game, like neutral site sucks for the NBA, right? It can work for college. It sucks for the NBA. I think the championship game should be a home game for one team. Like it should matter that you did well in your group or did well in the playoffs or whatever it is. Semifinal is I guess a good half measure if they're really in love with Vegas. Congrats to the T-Mobile Arena. You get to host this game. But I mean, I was at a quarterfinal game for Pacers Celtics last year. It was like maybe the most fun regular season game I've been at ever. Like it was very cool.
So and my thing with the Vegas part of this is, and I understand another part that came up in the story here is that one of the reasons why they do it the neutral site is because you have these home arenas that are multi-use and it's just hard to kind of blank out like a week where you just can't do anything. Like I get the logistics of all of that, but like everybody who's in Vegas talks about how the atmosphere is just not good because you don't know who's rooting for who. Just pump in crowd noise. What's the difference?
Yeah, it felt too quiet. It felt like a museum.
It's too quiet, and I understand like it's embarrassing if you're like a real home arena and you're pumping in crowd noise because you don't want to be outed that way. But it's Vegas. Who cares? Everything's fake and glitzy and glamorous anyway. Who cares? Just pump in the crowd noise.
And that's part of the structured trouble. If you're a fan, you want to go. You don't know that your favorite team's in it until 2 days before, right? And it's not even where you live.
And being on a Tuesday is tough too. Like who's getting off of work like the week before Christmas? Love
the expanded group idea, right? Because I agree with the concept of like, if you want this, I guess the NBA is probably like, yay, last year we got the Pacers in there, and this year we got the Hawks and the Rockets. Like, woo! But I think now that everybody's yelling about the ratings and the stars and the blah blah blah. Like, if they knew they had a better chance of getting the best teams, but still 8 games is a small enough full sample that maybe one team can sneak it. I think they would like that.
I hate it. Keep it at 4. I like this sort of like March Madness-y, Cinderella, anybody can make it part of. If you just we already have a thing for the best teams that win it. It's called the playoffs. We have it already. We have 7-game series. One of the best teams always wins the championship. That's one of my favorite things about the NBA is you don't have these random like in Major League Baseball, you get like a hot pitcher and you can win the World Series. These are the best, qualitatively best teams that usually win the championship, or at least one of them. And I like that this NBA tournament or the in-season tournament is like something that's a little bit different, where you can get a Pacers to make a run or a Hawks team to make like that. That's more interesting. Otherwise, I don't know, it's just we already have it. We have the playoffs.
Have you heard the theory about March Madness, where there's like a perfect number of upsets? Like if it's too many, the games become crap.
Right.
Like later on, right? What is? I think that's the balance they have to strike. Is where they're like, well, 2 of our games just like no one cares, and
yeah.
but you're right. I think you're right that
it can be these.
Yeah,
you had the Lakers in it, and then these were 2 good, like Milwaukee and OKC. Those are good teams.
How about this? Fans vote for 4 of the 8 teams. Default make it, and the other 4 play through as normal. We did it.
Yeah, it's half All-Star game and it's half in-season tournament, and we just combine the 2 things. What if we just got rid of the All-Star game and made it the in-season tournament? How about that?
Players care more about this than the All-Star game, so there's something to that.
Just do like an all Madden draft right before the in February, right after the deadline. That wraps up Locked On NBA Game Night. Every game, every night. Make sure you're subscribed on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts.